Today's video, I'm going to be talking about my resistance to AI. And this video will be like a video essay. I'm still trying to find my voice in these videos, but these are my genuine thoughts on AI and its presence in the tech landscape. And I'll first just start talking about where this screenshot came from. It's from a movie called Moneyball. For anyone who hasn't seen it, it's a great movie. And it's not really about baseball. It's more about someone, a baseball general manager, who has a completely different way of thinking about baseball and assembling a team. And basically what he does is he applies analytics and statistics when it comes to evaluating players. No general manager applied it to this extent. He was very criticized, especially when their team wasn't doing well. This movie made me think about technology and new things when it comes to tradition, and it comes to a traditional field like baseball, or honestly, like tech, right? Even though tech is known as cutting edge, eventually everything becomes traditional. And this movie really just made me, it's a good parallel, in my opinion, to how I feel about AI. And there's this great scene in the movie, and I picked this screenshot because this is a scene where Billy Beane, the general manager, gets invited to talk with the Red Sox owner. And he has this really great quote, the Red Sox owner, and he says, "The first one that gets through the wall always gets bloodied." And basically, anyone who does anything new, like they always just get crushed. And it's because people feel threatened and insecure, and they don't want to adopt this new thing because a lot of times it's based off fear. And that's when I started really thinking about like my biases when it comes to AI. And I basically picked three biases that I had and three reasons why AI had always like filled me with like unease, or I was like, I don't really want to put this in my workflow and start like coding with AI or using it for writing or using it to come up with ideas. It really comes from three main biases that I'll explain. The first one, again, this is also from Moneyball, but it's a whole bunch of like old guys who are like traditional scouts, and they don't want to use metrics or analytics or statistics. They have all these like they just want to watch players, and then they have this eye for the game. And these are like old school scouts, and it's really funny in the movie. They start criticizing this player because they're like, he has an ugly girlfriend, and ugly girlfriend means low confidence, which is so dumb. But it's just like a satire on how, I don't know, like old school traditional people think. And part of me resonates with this, even though I never want to be prejudiced. I like the idea of coding without AI. I like reading the documentation and learning how algorithms and data structures work and thinking about the cleanest way to write code. I don't like that AI can just automate it super quick. I acknowledge I'm like pretty resistant because part of me kind of clings to those old days, even though it wasn't that long ago. That's the first one, clinging tradition. The second one is from the movie Neighbors. That's about being in a fraternity. Part of the reason I'm resistant to AI is I feel like being really good at coding or writing or art, AI has been able to generate cool images, and a lot of artists and people who make a living out of their art maybe feel like this is like threatening their way. And I think at the end of the day, when you're skilled at something, right, you're a really good writer, like you're almost like in a fraternity, right? It's like a very high barrier to entry. And so in a way, you're in like this fraternity or in this group of really good writers, programmers, artists. I think AI threatens that, right? It lowers that bar to entry. Like now everyone can come up with good writing quickly through ChatGPT. It's definitely threatening. Resistance to AI is a lot of times born through insecurity. That's definitely something I feel. The last piece is this kid saying no, and it represents like kind of me being a contrarian. Whenever people are really hyped about AI and how it's going to change everything, my immediate reaction is no, no way. And even if it does, I'm going to resist and go against the grain. But that's a personal trait. If there was a world where everyone's like hating on AI, who knows? Maybe I would be like, actually, AI is amazing and people hate on it too much. But those are the three biases, three main biases I feel when it comes to my resistance with AI. And that kind of brings me to, I guess, first, I talked about Moneyball. One thing that's near and dear to my heart is I've always loved basketball since I was a kid. And like Moneyball, how analytics came into baseball. Saw this firsthand. I'm not the biggest baseball fan. I just saw that movie, but I am a huge basketball fan. And I saw this firsthand, like when I was in middle and high school. It started with the 3-point revolution. For NBA fans, you know what that's like, but it's basically when this team, the 2015-16 Golden State Warriors, were the first ones to start shooting a ton of threes. And during that time, that was like an unheard of method to, well, unheard of way to play basketball. No one's ever won shooting all these threes, and they got a lot of hate. But then looking at it modern days, that's how every team plays. Every team plays like that. And there is this professor named Kirk Goldsberry. He wrote a book on how basketball has changed, how like the basketball, he calls it like geography or landscape has changed because he teaches, I believe he's like a cartographer at the University of Texas. but he drew maps on where shots are taken in pre 21. You can see there's a lot of shots from what they call like the mid range, where it's not super close and it's not the 3 point line, but it's somewhere in the middle. Everything's just a three or really close to the basket because these are the most efficient shots. In the NBA at that time is there were a lot of really good players, Roy Hibbert, Andre Roberson, just to name a couple, that weren't good 3 point shooters, but they were in the league around this time when the Warriors were really good, like 2015, 2016, and they got phased out of the league in a couple years. They couldn't adapt to the speed, the 3 point shooting. They were probably just confused. They couldn't adapt. They don't play in the NBA anymore, which is a little sad, but it's part of like maybe too much resistance, or even if it's not resistance, like an inability to adapt to like a changing landscape of what was going on in their industry. And just to keep going with the sports and basketball analogies, since that's how I started in this video, it doesn't mean that everyone using these players that got phased out of the league, it's not perfect for resistance to AI because it's not an all or nothing game. This new method has come on to technology using AI to really like automate and make things a lot easier in your daily workflow. But you don't have to be like Steph Curry, who just is known as like the best 3 point shooter of all time in the NBA. You don't have to be like even this guy named Brook Lopez, who he was drafted in the league like way before 2020. And he went from being a very traditional player to one of the best like 3 point shooting centers. He's 7 foot, but he still just shoots threes at a pretty efficient rate. You don't have to be like this adaptative to new trends. Other players like DeRozan or Rondo never developed really a 3 point shot. But what they did do is these players like do the other things, like the non 3 point things at a high level. And I think the parallel is if you're someone who strongly resists AI, like I'm not going to touch it at all, then you need to do like everything else at the highest level, right? If you're a writer, you need to be like putting in more time to like non-AI tasks and putting in the work and being an expert at things that AI cannot do, right? And I think for most of us, we'll be on the spectrum, right? You don't have to be a complete non-AI adopter, and you don't have to be like a pure using AI for every little thing. We're gonna fall like somewhere along the middle, and I think that's totally fine. And for me, I am gonna be very intentional on like when I want to use AI and when I don't. It'll really depend on if I value like how much I want to do hands-on learning and how much I'd rather just offload that to AI. It'll depend on, do I need to get a lot of work done in a shorter time? AI is good for that. Or do I want to do things more for my enjoyment and for my own like learning again? And those are again situations where maybe I don't want AI. Plenty of great NBA players whose 3 pointer isn't like the like primary thing about their game. I don't want to resist AI, and I don't want to be like a hater and just not adopt it and talk like crap about it all the time. It's really just being intentional, I think, about like how much I want to use it and adopt it and how much I don't, when I think it's good for me and when I prefer like more traditional like methods of doing work. And there's still plenty of ways to be like a great NBA player, a great like programmer, a great writer, using some AI and maybe not using AI in other areas of your career. So that's basically what I wanted to talk about. I started with, it's a brave new world. It's certainly new to me. It's crazy to think about. I'm 27. I started my career in 2016, and it's already changed so much. I wasn't expecting AI to come so early in my career and me feeling old, like to these new kids who want to use AI for everything. It's a new world, but I'm learning where AI fits when it comes to like my work and where I want to apply to my life. Appreciate you guys for listening. Thanks.